All right, I think we are going live. Is it working? Is it working? Working? Is it working? Working? Is it working? All right, guys. So today I just kind of wanted to talk about comics versus manga, um, obviously, and the reason I wanted to go over this topic was because I finally had my first experience reading manga. Um, if you have been following along, I've been watching, or I've been creating new playlists for the channel. One of which was the um, Comicsology Unlimited reading list, and on that I had two comic books, which consisted of Divinity and Rat Queens, and then the third book that I had in there was Appleseed, which was a manga. So it was on Comixology. It was fair game. It's technically a comic because that's what manga is in Japan. It's I think it's the Japanese translation for comic books, if I'm not mistaken, which I probably am. So my understanding of manga has always been that it's a Japanese translation of comic books, and since the Japanese language is read from right to left, the books are done. The books are completely done from right to left. You turn the page to the left, I guess. You know, turn that way, and then from there you just read pretty much in the opposite order that you would read an American comic. So that was pretty much my understanding. Now, when I read Appleseed, there were a couple of things that I noticed. Luckily, I had knowledge that you're supposed to read from right to left, so I was able to follow along with a couple of exceptions. Every once in a while, I would turn the page the wrong way just because that's what I was expecting, and I'd be like, "Wait, this is the same page." I have to go back. You know, that happened a couple of times. Not a big deal. Reading from right to left was fine. I I don't think I really got confused with that. That seemed to work out for me. Luckily, it came naturally. And then also, I noticed that it was a lot more concise in what they were saying. It was just simple sentences because I think the Japanese language, you can probably get a lot across in the few characters that they write, as opposed to doing whole words like the English language. So you have this small little bubble that you have to fit an entire idea into. So it limits the amount of writing that you can have per panel, which I actually liked a lot. I really liked that. And one second, guys. I think we have some stream problems. Should be working. Not really sure why it's not working. I'm gonna push through it. I'm sorry, guys. This might be a bad stream, but I really want to get this going. Not really sure why the signal's going out like this. Been having a lot of technical difficulties lately. I'm not really sure why. Keep all my stuff the same. All it has to do is just perform the way it's supposed to perform. Let's see. Stream options. Anyways, I'm sorry if this is a bad one, but whatever. I'll probably redo the video. I might have to stop doing live streams if this is going to continue to be a problem. Who knows? If not, just turn off the screen and just listen to me rant. Anyway, like I was saying, you have to fit an entire idea into this small little bubble inside one frame, which I liked a lot because you actually ended up with a really quick, easy to read book, which helped me a lot. As I've stated before, I'm a very slow reader, and that is not it's never fun to really be a slow reader and then be reading a book and then you get bored with yourself. So that's always a problem for me. But with manga, it seemed like it was short sentences, straight to the point, and I was able to flip through the pages pretty quickly, which I liked a lot. Um, Also, I like the sound effects that they used. The I don't know. I guess they're not sound, well. I mean, the way that they describe their sound effects. I have a lot of problems with comics, regular American comics, when it comes to sound effects, because sometimes you'll have this weird looking word and it's like karoom or something like that, and I'm like, I don't ever hear a building smashing into the floor and think karoom. You know, it's just that's not what I think. So it, when it comes to the Japanese comics, they have these different ways about going writing out their sound effects. And even though it's like an English translation of it, the English translation for me, at least in this book, I don't know if it's the same in all mangas, but for the sound effects in this Appleseed book, they were done pretty well for me. It worked really well for me, and I liked that a lot. Um, and that was also something that made it a lot better for me, because in my head when I was reading the manga, it was it was playing out kind of like an anime would. I probably in my head I used voices that I heard in other animes, which probably helped it out. Some of the characters looked familiar from, I mean, you know, the anime style art is it makes most faces kind of look the same, and you know, they all have the same like curvature of the face and everything, and the hair is always usually pretty similar. So I think I probably subconsciously connected those characters with some past characters for anime, linked up the voices, and it worked perfectly out in my head. So that's just something that I noticed. The other thing is that um, when I was reading it, there weren't any splash pages, so that was like one of the drawbacks that I kind of felt. It didn't have like splash art, and if you guys follow my Instagram page, you'll notice that I do post all my images based off of whatever I'm reading. So if I'm reading like like as you'll notice if you go to my Instagram page right now, you'll notice that a lot of stuff that's coming out is from Rat Queens, and I space all my content out that I'm gonna post. I have it preset on all the things that I'm gonna post, and I try to space it out evenly. So when I was reading Appleseed, they don't do very many splash pages like American comics do. You'll have a couple of panels, and then for American comics, that is, you'll have a couple of panels, and then when it's like a real big thing that's happening, they'll cut away to a full scene, give you great art, beautiful color usually, and you'll get like a whole page of just, you know, this is your splash page of just beautiful art and connecting the idea with the picture. So that's one thing that I didn't like about manga, which I mean it's fine, you know, it's a completely different style, and you know, it's targeted for a different demographic. So if that's what they're used to, then that's what they're used to. That's fine. But I just wish that there was some, because a lot of the images that you'll see me posting about Appleseed will be kind of zoomed in on shots that I thought maybe could make a splash page. Also, the art, I like the anime art style. It's very beautiful. It's a beautiful type of art. So when they do these characters standing outside the panels, and they do like a full body shot of the characters, there's one of the character Hitomi where she's standing outside the panel, and it was probably my favorite piece. And when I cropped it up and set it up for the Instagram posting, it looked really good. So I just wish that they would have. I just wish that splash pages were something that were more prominent in manga. Like I said, I don't know if this is the norm. I'm just gonna assume that it is because um, this author of the book. I'm sorry, I don't have the name listed anywhere, and I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce it properly even if I did. But the the author has written a couple of other books before, and I know that he's a pretty popular guy, so there shouldn't be any. I wouldn't think that he's doing anything that's different, or at least anything that would be out of the ordinary. I would assume that he's doing what's normal for the genre manga. So I'm just making that broad assumption based off of this one book. I might be completely wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be putting out incorrect information. But whatever. Um, Also, everything's black and white. That's another thing. So I looked it up. I looked up why this comic was black, or why manga is generally in black and white. I've seen manga before. I never read it before. I've seen manga. I've seen people read manga back in middle school, and I've like flipped through maybe a book here and there at the library or something. You know, I've seen it before, but I've always noticed that it's black and white. And I looked into it, and I was wondering why. It turns out that manga is usually done by smaller publishers. You don't, excuse me, you don't generally have bigger publishers like Marvel and DC in manga. From my understanding, I'm probably wrong about this too, but you don't have the budget that they have here, like they do here in America with being able to put all this money into the artist, the penciler, like the pencil guy, the inker, the you know color guy. I guess you don't have all that money being put into there, and maybe they do have a lot of money, but maybe they decide, you know what, it's easier to put out. I mean, this is another one of the reasons why manga is black and white. It's easier to put out issue quicker, a book quicker this way, because you don't have to worry about the coloring and matching color schemes and all this other stuff. You don't have to. You don't have to just do a number of things. Like it's cheaper to get it published. Um, yeah, I mean it's just it's a faster, it's a cheaper process. It's a faster and cheaper process, and you get all the same things with the exception of the color. So that's one of the things. Also, I'm to understand that manga is also geared towards making you watch anime. So if a story is good, and once again, let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments, or whatever. If a manga is good, then they'll make an anime out of it. So I think things like Death Note, I think they started off as manga first. Parasite, I think, started off as manga first, and then and then they made the anime after that. So I think it helps you establish a good story. If the story's good enough and there's a large enough fan base to make an anime off of it, then they go ahead and do that. That's a very smart idea. I wish there was more of that in the United States, because I feel like we don't get very many shows. But then again, we pretty much gravitate towards Marvel and DC stuff. So I mean, you're kind of limited. You're kind of limited in what they can do. They're only gonna do shows that they think are gonna sell them merchandise. So it's only stuff like Justice League, and maybe a few smaller shows. You get Marvel, or you'll get like Avengers, Spider-Man, stuff like that. So um, unlike here in the United States, over there in Japan, it seems like manga, it's pretty much broad. When a lot of people think of comic books here in the United States, I think they think of superheroes. I mean, at least that's been my general understanding before comic books, and I think from talking to people about comic books, ever since I've gotten into comic books, I think the general perception is that comic books are about superheroes and not about very much else. Whereas probably, I may be wrong, but I would assume that the perception about manga out in Japan is probably about several different stories that you can pick up, and it's just this medium that you can go through. You want a different story, um, and you want to go through the medium of manga, then you can find different mangas on different things, just like you can do in comic books. But I think it's more well known probably in Japan. So that was one of the things. Let's see, what else did I notice? Um, I think that's pretty much it. Just the sound effects seem to really hit big with me. Um, I didn't like the fact that there wasn't color, but I completely understand why. Reading right to left wasn't really a big thing for me, and I think having a different art style, the anime art style, was pretty awesome to go with. Now with comics, obviously I love comics, but the thing that I don't like about comics is that sometimes you get these panels where they're just saying whole paragraphs in one panel, like it'll be a miniature paragraph here, and the guy continues talking right here, and it's another miniature paragraph, and I'm like, man, like I just want to get through this book. So if you've seen my review on the indie comic review that I did the other day on Patient M, which is an indie book, the one of the things that I said that I liked very much about it was so fast paced and easy to read, that I just loved the comic. It was full of action, and it really helped me get from point A to point B. I just wanted a nice story. I got a nice story. I got a little bit of understanding, and yeah, because comics, it's a visual medium. You read comics because you want to see the beautiful art that accompanies a story. If you didn't really care for the art, then you'd be reading books where you can find more in depth and you know sometimes better stories, because probably a lot of the time better stories, because an author is putting, usually I would assume, putting a whole entire basis and foundation underneath this character so that you understand who they are and what their motivations are. And usually books are, standalones. You don't have to understand the whole history of the past 50 years of what has been happening in books to understand what's going on in the book. So I understand that comic books, they have to establish a baseline. They have to give you a full reason for what a character is doing, and they're kind of limited. And also, there may be things that they have to continue in continuity, and um, I understand these things, but at the same time, um, I want to be able to flip through the pages pretty quickly. I don't want to have to be stuck on one panel, reading one panel, because I'm a slow reader. Like I said, I'm a slow reader, but I don't want to have to be sitting there reading a panel for 20 seconds and then have to move on to the next panel for another 20 seconds or whatever. I mean, I'm not that slow, but still, you get the idea of what I'm saying. So that's one thing I don't like about comics. The other thing is that you know I don't know how manga's usually sold. When I got this Appleseed book one, um, it was consisted of like 6 books. Now, one of the books, like, now it says that it's one issues 1 through 6, and one of the books towards the end, the last one, was like less than 10 pages. And I was like, man, I'd be kind of mad if I picked up something for like less than 10 pages, and then um, one of the better books in the middle with all the action, it seemed like it was like 20 pages, 20 to 30 pages. I was like, it didn't seem like there's much consistency there. Now, I'm not gonna be buying manga issue to issue, and I don't even buy comics issue to issue. I usually go with the trades, but it would be kind of weird to be inconsistent in the page numbers. With comic books, you usually end up with 20. I would say the average I see in a lot of comic books is 23. So you have 23 pages of just pure content, because I always download my comics. Um, So that's 23 pages of contents. If you pick up the floppy, it's probably a little bit more because they stuff a lot of ads in there, which is another reason why I don't pick up the floppies. But but at least it's consistent. It's around 23 pages to about 33 pages, somewhere in that gap. That's the average, I would say. But in manga, I mean, if you're picking up a 9-page comic and then the next day it's like a 32-page comic, I mean, that's like that's very little consistency. So um, that's one of the things I didn't like about manga. But overall, both of them are pretty good. I like both of them. I like comic books um, more, and probably it's just it, a lot of it I think has to do with the color. I really like color in my comics, and I know that not even all comic books have color, um, but color is a big thing. Like I said, it's a visual medium that we're coming to explore. And when you go into this visual medium, you want to have the best experience that you can. And then when you have comic books, you get all that color and all the other stuff that goes into it. It really helps out. It's one of the reasons why I didn't continue reading The Walking Dead. I didn't like the black and white. I just need some color. I need color. I don't know what it is. I mean the grayscale on, I think that's what it's properly called. The grayscale in the manga of Appleseed was awesome. I like the different gradients that they had and the shading that they did. It was really cool, but it doesn't compare to color. When you get some really good stuff like Jim Lee or Jamie McKelvey, and you get that good art, and then you get some great color in there. Oh man, that's the good stuff. That's the whew, whew, I like it. I like that stuff. So that's where I stand. That's man, that's the good stuff. So I'm probably gonna keep doing manga until somebody tells me, "Hey, manga fucking sucks. Don't stop doing manga. This is a comic book channel. Let's do comic book stuff and not manga stuff." Um, but then again, this channel is about what I like. So if you don't like it, then I usually give you two other books reading choices. Um, but once again, Comic Confab, it's a place for all of us. But I may still continue doing it just because I want it to be on that list and I want to explore it. I do want to explore manga a little bit more. I can't write all manga off on one book. I know that there's some things that I do have to read. I like the Parasite anime, so I might pick up Parasite the manga. Naruto, I used to watch Naruto way back when MySpace was a thing. And let's see what else is out there in manga land. I think they have DBZ, right? Dragon Ball Z? I would assume they have Dragon Ball Z. So if they have Dragon Ball Z, I'll probably pick up some Dragon Ball Z, see how they do with the action. Because one thing that you can't beat, um, at least in anime, is the type of action you get in anime. So if that type of action is in manga, manga might have a stronger hold on me over comic books eventually. I just gotta explore some manga that does it. So that's pretty much all for me today, guys. Uh, if you do like manga or if you don't like manga, I kind of want to hear what your thoughts are, and in comparison to comic books. Why do you like comic books over manga, or why do you like manga over comic books? Let me know. These are some of my reasons why I like comic books over manga, and some of the things that I just experienced in manga over comic books. But everybody's different. So I know that there's a huge feud. If somebody likes manga in the comments and you like comic books and you think manga's garbage, don't give that person a hard time. Or if it's vice versa, if you like manga and you think comics are garbage, don't give that person a hard time. We're all here to have great stories in our head and read beautiful, beautiful stories, and enjoy the same thing. And it's a platform for us all to talk. It's a good community for us to talk. So let's keep it that way. Lastly, I want to represent. Got to get that Deadpool action in there. Yeah, this is my favorite shirt. Yeah. So yeah, comic books for me, but I do like manga. Gonna still check it out. Gonna be adding something to the Comixology Unlimited reading list, the Curl. And yeah, stay with me, guys. Let me know what you guys think about comic books. Let me know what you think